Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Talking Town. My name's Adam, and I'm joined today by my constant co-host Steven. Steven, how are you doing?
Doing well. I hope everyone else is doing well.
Yeah, I think it's probably been one of my favorite weeks of Star Wars Unlimited now, and since I started, I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's been pretty great. It feels like there's hope in the air. You're optimistic for the future.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
Walking straight into our episode title of Foresight, we are basically just kind of trying to figure out how to approach the game now. I think Django kind of left a little like PTSD bubble in my head for the last, I don't know, 2 months. Um, but yeah, we the game had a major competitive play update last week. For those who aren't already following or aware, we're a little slow and behind on the news update, but just letting you all know anyway. What were the three cards we had banned, Steven?
So we had leader Jango Fett, which I think everyone was pretty set on assuming that that was at least getting banned. You had Triple Dark Raid TDR, which I think going into that final week, I think people were a little bit even more confident that it should be that card and more likely to be banned than Django would have potentially. And then, of course, DJ out of Haunt Yellow. So they did, in fact, give us a ban on all three cards. And I don't think anyone really can. No one is complaining. I think everyone's pretty happy with what they went and did. I think you especially.
Yeah, as someone who is working hard to help get Django banned, he was banned. And I know previously, well before we had talked about it, the opinion was, is at least between one of our older episodes, both Triple Dark Raid and DJ would have to kind of also go. So, kudos to FFG for truthfully getting everything off of the table that that the community saw as a problem. It just sets a really good tone for the rest of set four and all the way leading up to the regional qualifier and the sector qualifier in Richmond. And just I think we're going to be seeing such a fun and diverse meta for the first time, like I said, and probably since the origin of the game over a year ago now.
I don't know. I think set three was pretty diverse.
That's fair. I'll give you that. DJ was like one part of the scale I didn't like, but now, yeah, I think we're like everybody enjoyed kind of how set three was,
Mhm.
but I think we're about to see something even better. Or at least I hope so. So
Yeah, I hope so as well. I see certain things that potentially concerning, but we've got a little ways before we have to worry about it. So
yeah, we're we had some results come out this weekend for some larger tournaments, but as far as I'm aware, the whole top eight was pretty diverse. The ban being in place as of last Friday, it's a lot for some players to swap to. I played Django exclusively basically for about a month and a half. I have to kind of relearn what truthfully how this game works because that thing was just a step above everything else. And
yeah,
as we all say, thank you, Daniel, for uh, helping get everything banned. He was on board for getting rid of that thing too. So
yeah, and it's also we're just at a point where I think everyone's scrambling to try and not just figure out uh some of these old strongest decks that everyone already knows are going to be good. They're trying to find some of these decks that haven't had a chance to shine yet, and find something that's a little bit out of the ordinary to see what they can maybe get away with before people know about it and before the meta settles.
yeah, we got a lot of uh I mean, there's all the big ones that we are fully aware of that haven't left since the game was, set one. You got Han 1, you have your Sabine, you have your Palpatines, and the things that were basically just shoved out of the game are now flying back in, and everyone's, like you said, just trying to figure out what where the ground really is. But it's going to be kind of cool. We'll just kind of jump really right into our first actual major topic for the day, since the update was about a week ago now. But what are you playing, or what are we playing, I guess I should say, now that the whole, we're throwing our paint to the wall and we're trying to see what sticks. Are you trying things that are off meta? Are you trying things you're used to? Are you trying things that are, you think are just going to be tier one? Where are you sticking at right now?
Right now, I'm sticking to kind of what I know, with some exception. So obviously Ray has been the deck that I've been playing ever since set 2.
Yeah.
So I'm still playing around with that, figuring out what I want to do, and if that's the deck that I want to end up playing in Minneapolis. Uh, Another deck that I was really starting to play around with at the end of set, or right before uh, the Denver sector, was Boba Yellow with TDR.
Mhm.
And I know we don't have TDR anymore, but even without TDR, I just saw certain instances of just an insane amount of damage that would just come out on certain turns, especially the Boba flip, right?
Yeah.
You flip out, you're probably hitting for at least 8 damage. So those have been the two lists that I've been playing around with the most. I've been playing around with, you know, some other ones, a bit of Quinlan here and there, because I know it's good. Something that I just kind of picked up on today that feels like it has legs is Boba Blue.
Oh,
Uh,
really?
Boba Blue. So I think there's definitely some interesting stuff there, because you can effectively play a control list, but you get to put in chip damage via indirect at the same time still. So
Huh.
yeah, that's something I'm gonna have to play around with, but
I'm gonna be out.
mostly
That sounds
Great Target
awful.
Town. Yeah, yeah. Because I was playing against Daniel
Mhm.
today against his Boba Yellow or not Boba Bosk Yellow list,
Oh dear.
and uh, I started with like a list where he ran 3 or 4 games. I think he like took 3 of them, and then I swapped up the list, and I think I took them all. So
Okay. I think Bosk is one of those leaders also that, it's definitely worth revisiting. He was already still really good in the Django meta, primarily as blue. But yeah, when the meta is basically a mid-range to soft control to hard control, Bosk can be all 3 of those in 2 colors if he really wants to be. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, I mean, we'll go over those 2 because I know what we're gonna do for this segment and kind of moving forward is, I don't know if it's weekly or bi-weekly. We'll kind of figure it out as we go. But we're doing for the what we're playing. I wanted to work with Poe because I honestly haven't played too much of the pilot leaders, and he's one of my favorites. He's my tattoo. I can't show my arm very well there. My tattoo here on my arm, just the black one. But I got a showcase or a Poe case, as some might say, from one of the locals and a good buddy of mine. He we I started using basically within the KTOD threads. I found one of the guys who was working on this, and he played it actually at Denver, and he took Poe Security Complex to 6-3 on day 1, and he almost got into day 2 with it, and it's really cool. Here, let me pull up the list real quick. We'll go there. Yeah, so we're just looking at the list. Obviously, it's, Poe Dameron and Security Complex. And then my first thought was, like, Security Complex is really neat. It's a base I haven't played yet. And honestly, in a meta with a lot less ping, and Target Town is still around, but Security Complex help enable Poe to keep his turn 1 play on the board more often. And that's just so important for him.
Also interesting that you can deploy him onto a ship and it's not treated as a leader, so you can still shield it after that.
Yeah, it's so nice because the ability to or just play the unit Security Complex that turn, and then basically the whole point of the deck is aggro. Blue red aggro seems like an archetype, or at least hero archetype, that I haven't played. Usually this is like a mid-range style, but it definitely is built to go very wide. It has, let's see, 2, 4, 7, 10, 16 turn 1 plays that are all 2-drops that help basically fill out the curve for Poe. And then on top of that, you have 3 covering the wings, Cassian Andor to kind of close out the game with a surprise smuggle, It has Concord Dawn, and I don't know how I felt about the unit, but in the reverse, like pilot matchup, then maybe it's worth keeping. The 3 of Village Protectors has been insane for me because you can always covering the wing the Village Protector. 4 Cause, K2, and Poe are your red hero staples. One of my favorite things that I've learned with this list so far is just how much resetting you can do with BB-8. I closed out a game on the local tournament this last weekend with just swinging Poe into base. Then they had to claim because I was presenting lethal next turn because of Poe swinging again. But I just BB-8'd and Poe'd again. And it was just like, all right, you have to deal with, and then there's also the leader being on the ground, heroic sacrifice the leader. There's a lot of neat little tricks, You can trench run something with Poe on there, and if he dies, then Poe just be deployed after. But the goal of this segment is for us to kind of show our progress as we work on these lists throughout throughout the set. The sideboard is probably one of my places I would start. I haven't explored too much of it. The matches I did play all just kind of required basically they didn't require much use of most of them. The unexpected escape was actually super nice because I did play against a CAD, and he almost he was really close to getting me, and he had to claim to stop me, but I had the unexpected escape in hand. We'll jump over to your list. Which one do you want to start with?
I guess before that, do you want to just really quickly touch more on kind of what happened Sunday since you ran this list on Sunday?
Oh yeah. So I played 2-1. First round against it was a Ray Colossus. I got him pretty good first round, and then game 2 and game 3, he was on point with his both removal and just the amount of vigilances he saw early helped a ton. If I can't kill or get him to lethal before Ray deploys, the game just kind of comes crumbling down, and I'm throwing things at the wall, and he just continues to get bigger. So that one stunk, but it was nice to see because I do like Ray. I did play a lot of double blue Ray back in set 2. Swiss or round 2 was CAD Tarkin Town. So I truly got to see how good Security Complex felt. If he didn't open a space unit, I was basically kind of free to take the lane. Even when he Tarkin down to take my shield off, it's the unit still stuck, which was good. I just kind of had to worry about continuing to go wide and avoid his McClunkies, which were a problem. The Resistance X-Wing was something that I also found is really neat. Just kind of like the black one, it works super well with how Poe functions. I never got to bounce with Poe between units and attacking that in that match, but in the first match against Ray, I did. And then all the pumps were super good. I think I swung at base on turn 2 for 9 with Trench Run. Yeah, because Poe is 5 plus 4 from Trench Run. That was a very satisfying feeling into a Tarkin down. Yeah. But it was a super close game because that matchup still that's what CAD's supposed to do. He's supposed to just kind of tear apart the aggro decks, whether he's written red or green. It hurts, and if he had actually managed to capture me and stabilize the board, I think there's a real chance I just kind of lose one of those games. But that was a 2-0, and that was his name was Logan. He's a super nice kid, super smart, and I mean he truthfully almost got me. And then the game after was actually against his dad, Jeremy. If I'm saying these names, or I believe it's Jeremy, right? I want to say.
Yes, that sounds
okay.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Jeremy.
Maybe question it, but I believe so.
I'm 99% sure. If I messed it up, please let me know. He was playing Kira ECL, and I was, Kira Green, I think I have an even harder time against. but here ECL kind of put me at a relief because it made me feel like, all right, I have him in kill range a lot easier. Game 1, he didn't ramp. It was a lot harder for him to like continue to play out the game. And then game 2, he did Kira's specialty of resupply into deploy into overwhelming barrage. And I had to kind of split going ground and space game 2, so I kind of just made sure I didn't mulligan for K2s, but if I saw them, I held them. And I had to do everything I could to just keep units that were sticky enough that weren't just instantly killed. So, just making sure I went wide, and then I closed the game out with, I think, a double Foresight in hand. So it's like, I think he played it basically perfectly up until that point, and then I Foresight, and I was able to Foresight again from hand rather than like waiting a turn for him to heal off of vigilance. So it was, once again, it's like, I think here is a good deck we can talk about here in a little bit. That's in a good place. But yeah, it was. We just did a 3-round Swiss tournament. I think you played Ray in that tournament, didn't you?
I did.
Okay. Well,
You can
yeah.
bring that one up if you want.
Okay. Let's see. All right, there we go. So where are we at with this list?
All right, so this is kind of the working list that I'm doing with right now. This is the list that I played at the same event on Sunday. We did only play 3 rounds. I went 3-0, 6-0 game score on Sunday, so I did end first Swiss out of that with this. Yeah, it feels really, really good. I played against Jeremy, his Kira Green, in round 1.
Oh wow, we both played.
Yep. So I won that 2-0. I was able to open fire his Kira flip every single time. So
oh, feels bad.
Yeah. So that makes it a little bit more difficult for him. Round 2, I played. Oh my goodness, why am I blanking on who I played round 2?
You remember what deck?
Oh man, I'm blanking on that as well. My goodness.
Well, we can move on. Do you remember round 3? I guess.
Round 3, I played against Blue,
Okay.
against local Matt, and I won that 2-0 as well. He was running Colossus, and so when I see Colossus and I run discard effects,
you feel a lot better.
Yeah, it feels very, very much more manageable. So yeah, man, I still can't believe that I'm forgetting what I played round 2. But anyways, I played Dylan, and he was playing Yoda Data Vault.
Oh man, okay. So you had Yoda Data Vault, you had Piet Colossus, and then Kira ECL. So you had blue all day.
Yes. Yep.
Wow.
So yep, I was able to get all those. I mean, I'm trying to think standouts of the day. I mean, Shams and Dula. I've been going back and forth on whether or not to play 1 or 2 of him in the main. I know I want to play him in the main, I'm pretty sure, but I've been kind of going back and forth between 2 Cham and 1 Nima, or 1 Cham, 2 Nima. And just on going into the day, I was previously on 2 Nima, and then when I Saturday, when I built out the deck ahead of time, I was like, I'm going to go 2 Cham, because I think it's more likely for our locals that they're going to be playing more rampy decks.
Yeah,
and
I think everybody
that
was
worked out, since I played green in all 3 rounds.
fair.
So that worked out. Then I know. I'm trying to think what else is maybe weird. I added in Jedi Lightsaber kind of as a last minute thing again, just to help with some control decks. Honestly,
I'm glad to see it back in the list, but that's just my opinion. But
I love the idea of it. In practice, it felt awful.
Really?
In practice, it never felt like there was an opportunity to play it. I don't know if it's just the way the hands broke down or what, but it felt like I either am holding it too long, or I have to resource it, or yeah, I was just. I think there was only ever one game where I got to put it on something, and it was like kind of annoying, but it was still risky to do. Um, the Nema is also a little unique. I think a lot of people weren't playing it previously. I was playing it at the end of at the end before the Django ban because it's just kind of a big body, and you can put indirect damage into it. And I still wanted to keep it just because I know a lot of people are kind of playing mid range control right now, but I think aggro is more likely gonna come back in. I think Sabine is just crazy. Quinlan, in my opinion, is uh, it's a mid-range deck, but I feel like it tends more towards aggro in most of the lists. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
an aggro tendency list. We do keep that. It can obviously be buffed by Ray. It also just opens up some more windows on Ray deploy where I don't have to play an Obi-Wan. I can play something else and then still kind of have some flexibility on them being scared of, oh, okay, he's got extra resources. What can you do?
Yeah,
Um,
Nema
so
seems like Obi-Wan Kenobi at home, but
right.
I think the card. I mean, I remember when it came out with Rey, because that's a Shadows card. Like it was considered to be, you know, like at least useful. I don't know if it was always in the start list or the first list back then. I don't think it was, but I mean, because just Obi-Wan Kenobi was just such a more quality unit too. I like it because it's like into your yellow matchup. It's like they don't want to waylay this because it's not really a threat, but they might have to waylay this. So
Yeah.
it's like it's just there. It's kind of like it's your bright hope for, you know, for ground units. You got to deal with it at some point, and if that's how you decide, you know, continue to win this or play the game. My biggest problem with the card is, uh, is that Wrecker just choose it, but I mean it does the same thing to Obi-Wan. So
Yeah, exactly.
if they're burning their
Um,
Wrecker to kill Nema, then your Ray is safe. That's kind of the big one.
yeah, exactly. And then you still have the resources because there's a kind of a little grief that I get, especially from my co-host here about me having force throw.
Yeah,
And well, it's really nice because on my Ray flip, if I just drop Obi-Wan, I can't do anything else. But if I play Anima or play a
yeah,
takedown or something or a fell to deal with something, I can still double force throw you, which it did happen on Sunday. I
yeah.
think more than once. So
I think
um,
I think Force Throw as a card is, you know, it's like obviously Pillage is paying 4 to discard 2. Force Throw is paying, you know, effectively, you know, obviously a fourth of the cost, but the upside is so high in a deck that's already got so much force synergy. And even when you don't, this card is just a 1-for-1 at all times in the game. Yeah, you, for those who don't know, Steven does get a lot of local love, I guess we could call it, from his ability to force throw when it seems that he shouldn't have a second one, but he's pretty good at that.
yeah. List worked out well. Like I said, I mean, Jedi lightsaber, I'm really torn on.
Mm-hmm.
Perilous didn't seem good, but I didn't play against any aggro, so I leave that alone. Obi-Wan, honestly, has been a card that I'm debating on dropping because it just feels
Mm.
more like a liability on 6 than anything else. Uh, I'd almost rather just play a cheaper, similar card like more Nemas. The only time Obi-Wan is really particularly good is in those like the hero matchups that are playing that are also the blue green
Yeah,
or blue red hero matchups because they don't have ways to deal with Obi-Wan effectively. Almost
yeah.
every other deck does. Uh so that's kind of why I'm keeping it in there at least for now. But that's really the main one. Sideboard I definitely need to revamp. I thought that I had figured it out on Saturday, but I just had issues with being able to side out certain cards in certain matchups. Um, I think I need to take out some of the control side to put in more aggro assistance because I just couldn't figure out what to take out. Um,
I was gonna
so
say it
yeah.
looks like yeah, you have open fire to deal with aggro, and then everything else is top end. And then I mean I guess you have Nema as well, but I don't know if 2 cards is enough to like tone down your aggro matchup. Um, because it's probably one of your. I mean, I guess like Palpatine is obviously your worst top end, But I guess you also have the confiscates, which are really nice because I think we're going to see a larger upgrade meta, specifically just like more pilot leaders that can do a lot of damage very quickly. Yeah, I mean it still looks really good. The my biggest question is has profundity been something you've enjoyed?
I've enjoyed it. It's funny because I haven't really had a crazy situation where it has just felt absolutely insane. Because ideally against a control matchup, maybe you're a little bit behind. You're trying to do a little bit of catch up because maybe they've stabilized a little bit, and you drop profundity, and then you result in them discarding 2 cards, and then they also have to deal with it. I haven't really run into a scenario for that yet. Usually, it's kind of more I'm just in control and I don't really need the profundity anymore because I've already disrupted their hand enough that it's not going to do a whole lot
Yeah.
anymore. Uh, but it's still been pretty good. Just it just hasn't I haven't had it reach that like next kind of tier yet.
What's its best use case to? I mean, it'll kill most leaders, but like what has it? Have you force thrown it any special occasion or any times? Because like
Um,
this definitely gives you a better target than you had previously had. Like you did run Crate
ye-
Dragon, but
yeah, I'm trying to think if I've ever force thrown or not crate, profundity. I believe I have. The ones that I remember are usually me force throwing Luke.
okay.
Um, if memory serves. Uh, but I just can't explicitly remember. But it's been good. I remember I did force throw either a Luke or a profundity into something that somebody wasn't expecting the other day. But
Okay.
um,
I just
yeah, I
feel
mean
it. Yeah.
it's still a 9 drop that you can deal with. So and it's great late against these blue villainy decks. So
Yeah. All right. I mean, I'm glad to see at least like now that Django's out, you have this like room to breathe. Like we all do. This is. I felt it felt really bad to see like someone who was championing like this deck for so long, just and most decks that were like 6 drops, just not even have a chance to deploy, or not even have a chance to like swing with that 6 drop leader. Um, I think that Poe Dameron unit right now is in a really good place. I think most decks that are running him basically like feel like you're making your opponent have to answer him the following turn is always nice going into 6 resources because it's usually about 4 resources at least to deal with him. So without something on board. Before we jump over to this one, did you have any or your boba? Did you have any? I guess like what would you think you would test for next week? It's probably cutting Obi-Wan.
right now, what I would probably test is really the main thing is I would need to adjust the sideboard. I think I'd probably take out Jedi lightsaber as well.
Okay.
I might just take out lightsaber and put in maybe like I don't know, third open fire or just put in the second Nema potentially.
Oh,
Maybe a third Poe. I was running triple Poe before the Django ban, but I don't think I need it as much anymore. And it feels like there's only certain matchups where you're actually content with just dropping Poe on 5. A lot of the other ones, I don't think you can do it. So,
just because we didn't mention it basically at the top, I see you have 3 moisture farmers and 1 R2. What's your logic behind those 2 cards?
so this is kind of a carryover from Django. Django and all the TDR decks, it felt like Moisture Farm was very necessary, especially with a lot of the indirect that was happening. It's something that I'm going to monitor because obviously Moisture Farmer is not going to be great into these control matchups. But
Yeah.
at the same time, if I do just turn one Moisture Farmer and buff it against these control decks, if they want to waste a power on my Moisture Farmer, cool. Then I'll drop a Sabine and buff it, or a black one and buff it, right?
Yeah.
Um, and in my opinion, I think having it's a little bit more relevant against aggro having that turn one that has restore than it is having it against control because it's just another body on board at the very least that's either going to get removed via power or something, or it sets me up to still Tarkin Town if they do play something like Pershing because I can still buff it in Tarkin Town, right?
Yeah,
If it turns out that aggro is not nearly as popular as personally I think it should be right now, then we'll be putting in more R2s and maybe siding moisture farmers. But
that's fair.
I
I could definitely see the spot fluctuating. I think the 1R2, like when I look at it, I'm like, that's very interesting. I don't know if I like agree with it, but also like you said, it's a fluctuating spot. So
Right. It's just I want it tailored more towards the aggro with the moisture farm. It also, and like I said, it helps with a lot of the indirect damage. Like I don't have to put it on units then because I know moisture farmer is going to heal it. It's a big body as well. And I rather just play the R2 to help in those certain matchups where it is good as opposed to like a third restored arc.
yeah,
Right. But I want to open moisture farmer in the matchups where I always want to see it. So
totally. I think with that, we can jump over to Boba. Sound good?
yeah.
All right. This is your second deck that you're kind of working on. I know you were playing this also before Django was banned. Um, I think this will probably be the home. If not, it'll probably be P at red for people who are still wanting to run Devastator, like the new set 4 dev. So I'm curious to see like how do you feel about this deck going now, like into this open meta? Do you think indirect damage still has like the punch that everyone is like kind of imagined when the set came out?
Yeah, I still think this deck performs very well. It just does so much damage, so much free damage. I mean, sure, you're missing Triple Dark Raid, which is unfortunate, but
Mm-hmm.
uh, I mean, almost half of the cards that you're going to play are dealing damage in some sense, even if they get removed, right?
Yeah,
Um, you still have General Pride, or Admiral Pride. I can't even
yeah,
remember,
it's
but
elite.
Pride
Yeah,
is
in general.
a Legion General. There you go. That 5 damage effectively with Boba, um, adding another damage to it if you have initiative. Uh, you have flexibility to play both ground and space, so you can space and
You
still
can.
pilot with Boba Fett or Darth Vader. And because certain decks are not going to have an effective way to deal with those, and you can just go push so much damage. Still have sneak attack options. Gorilla Soldier is still disgusting. Um,
Still an incredible card.
yeah, it's still incredible. You'll notice. Guess what? We get to play Fire Spray again because
Yeah,
TDR doesn't exist, and well, I mean, ruthless or fire spraying when you have nothing on board because you're actually getting controlled, and then being able to flip Boba on it, hit 4 damage onto units, and then still swing for 9. It's very good.
crazy. Yeah, it
It's very good.
underrated how I know we talked about it in previous episode that Ruthless Raider and War Juggernaut were just that much better, but also like the one of the boogeymans of sets 1 through 3 or 1 through 2 was Fett's Fire Spray being probably one of the best cards in the game. It an instant 5 damage on a 6 health ship that can avoid most removal is nothing to forget about.
Yep. And now you can hit them for 9, and they can't even effectively remove it because it becomes a leader if they can't touch it immediately.
The only one I was wondering is, have you looked at the Kimigala Heavy Fighter that the other lists were playing at Denver?
I haven't taken a look at that yet. Is that the 4 drop like 3/3 that does 3 indirect?
Yeah, I think it's a 3/4, but it
Okay.
does like 3 indirect and whatever it hurts. I believe it exhausts or it exhausts 1 unit if any of that indirect. So
Okay.
I was just curious. It looks like honestly your 4 drop spot though is already stacked. You have 2 transports. You have actually how many transports do you have? You have 9 transport vehicles to give Boba his secondary plus extra +1 as well. Yeah.
Yeah, you got the droid missile platform, the fire spray, the IG, and then you've still got the Fet's fire spray,
Both of
six
them.
drop.
Yeah.
That's also a transport. I think I trying to remember is that one as well. I can't tell if
Yeah, he is. He is.
Raider is okay.
I'm sorry. Raider is not. Fet's Fire Spray Set 1 is.
Yeah, I know he is. So,
Yeah.
I see this being very good. I think Control, if it's in a good place, is it. I think it struggles with dealing with all this indirect damage when you can just constantly play something, and even if they remove it, you're still getting free chip damage in, and then you have that top end of, okay, I'm going to play Raider, you're going to take more damage. Oh, I'm going to play Devastator, you're taking more damage, and you have to deal with the threat. The only thing that I've noticed so far is it is struggling into Sabine. You just don't have necessarily the great tools to address. So we may have to switch around. Like as you can see, I've got Geonosian Patrol Fighter in the side deck. So it depending on how things play out, that might have to make its way back into the main deck to help mitigate that.
Activate some of those when defeateds and help basically bounce units that they don't kill. I like it.
Right. Yep. You can. Yep. Trigger some of your stuff if they're like lane dodging you to get some free chip damage in. We also don't have a great way of dealing with Sabine, Darksaber. Right. I mean, you see no good to me dead there in the sides, but
honestly, your sideboard looks really solid. I mean, you have your anti-aggro, you have your anti-pilot / upgrade, and then you have your basically control with the third dev and adding 2 planetaries. So I like that you'll bring your capital ship count up at the same time to, what is that, 7 effectively, and obviously planetary bombardment just works so well with Boba already. So
yeah, I mean, like I said, I think against control, if it's hard control specifically, I don't know how, but it just feels like it has a good matchup. Like I was saying, even just what was it last set I was playing? I played against a boss blue who healed 24, and I won that game. Because you're just like they hit all 3 top targets and they double healed off of one of them, and it was just there's just too much damage that they just can't deal with it.
Makes sense. How do you feel about TIE Bomber? It doesn't look out of place. It's just I'm not sure how it's played so far into this set.
Again, it's a matter of identifying which matchups you're in. There are certain ones that just aren't going to be able to effectively play space, and if I can put a pilot on it as well, like it's swinging for effectively, 5 or 6 plus Boba Fett ability. So you just got to recognize where you want to do it. Obviously, if you don't have initiative and you're playing against a space heavy deck, you probably don't want to play that out. Or if they can, if they just have easy answers to killing it, then you probably just go with like a Zygerian because you get chip damage. Depends what you open, but
makes sense.
I do like the presence because
they don't want to swing into it.
Yeah, you don't want to swing into it. It's still just a threat too, right? It's an 0/4 body that is still pushing 3 damage, and it's still just scary. So it's just another option of, oh, I'm not scared of Zygerian. Oh, I'm not scared of Silencer. Oh, I am terrified of TIE Bomber.
Yeah, when any of those 3 go unchecked into turn 2, and your opponent has initiative and doesn't deal with them, then it gives Darth Vader so much more like oomph to just run the board. And it's like, oh, okay, I forgot. I forgot.
Remember when the most OP play was Battlefield Marine Fleet Lieutenant into base for 5?
It might still
Vader,
be one of them.
I'm doing 7. Well, I'm doing 3 to base with 4 floating. So, yeah, I mean that's gonna probably, you're either taking all that to base, or I probably just killed your turn 1 play with that.
Yeah, you'll be doing. You would do 3 indirect from the TIE Bomber, 1 from the on attack of Vader, and your Boba Fett trigger. So it's
so 3 damage plus 5 indirect.
Yeah, that's
or, well, not 5 indirect. 1 ping, 4 indirect.
Yep,
and potentially more if it killed, because I could put the indirect for TIE Bomber trigger first, and if they want to put it on their unit, I can have Vader kill it.
I'll be watching.
And then they take another one.
I'll be watching your career with much interest on this one because I'm not missing playing Django, but I am gonna miss probably playing some of these cards. Some of these are still some of my favorites in the game, but
Very good.
I'm excited to see it because I think it's just a style that obviously FFG wants to push. I think this was like the set for indirect damage, and I think Boba Fett's probably the best leader for it. So,
Yep.
all right. Well, any last minute ideas that you might swap out of this before testing for this week?
The big question mark that I have right now for the list is how I feel about IG 2000. What's so funny is when TDR was in the list, I hated the car. I was like, this never feels relevant. It never feels good. And then like immediately TDR got banned, and I just had one day of testing where I was like, dude, IG 2000 is crazy because they were just leaving everything at 1 HP, and it just cleared. And then now, like outside of that one day, it really just it hasn't felt great. I'm like, I need something else. I'm like, I'd rather have something to deal with aggro more effectively because I was tired of Sabine hitting me with Sundari Peacekeeper and then putting a Darksaber on it and then buffing their leader.
Yeah, when things get too big to deal with, that's when Django. You kind of miss that he could do things like that, but then also it's good he's not in the game. So
And I don't have effective ways of dealing with big units on ground without waylay because I have ways of dealing with big space units, but you
yeah,
know,
sounds like your goal is also semi to race, which 30 HP yellow is pretty good at, in my opinion, especially since Surprise Strike's still just such a good card.
yeah. Still struggles into Sabine just because of the leader difference, but
Yeah.
you know.
All right. Go back to main now that we're wrapped up with that. I am excited though that we get to kind of continue to see the meta open up, and that's what most of this episode's going to be about, is just looking into the future. And I like that. I mean, yeah, I know you've played Ray now for 2 sets at least, but like you on a villainy deck is surprising. I don't think I've seen you play a villainy deck since set 1, like that you've really tried. Uh, yeah.
Yeah, actually, that's the other thing too. I'm playing around. I have a or not boss, Boba blue list that I'm starting to play around with that I think is fun because control lists with extra chip controlled damage or just extra damage out of effectively a control list for free is
I mean, it
going to be good.
makes sense. I think Boba Fett from set 1 in blue. I think Django from set 1 in blue. It's just yellow blue villain is just. It's like you have to think about it on the radar, and then also CAD blue. Like these are all just very efficiently annoying leaders that work well with the 2 color combos.
I mean, this
Um,
one would be a little fun because it's red blue, so
yeah,
it's
that's fair.
it's almost, you could argue, like a Vader blue, but more aggressive. You've got more freedom to
Yeah, deploys
do damage.
faster. Does obviously you have the pilot function. Yeah, you have your burn spell and or your built-in indirect, and yeah. As for, I mean, I don't know if Boba will be like top of the food chain, but at least what I'm looking at right now for the decks that I think are going to be the best going into the post ban or post suspension are probably, you've got Sabine, you've got Han, we've got some players are saying Palpatine is going to be back, and he always returns. I think he could exist. I don't know if people are going to still run that gambit of trying to avoid as much aggro as there might be. I think that Anakin is going to be very good. I think some function of a Colossus deck, if not Anakin, maybe Piet, but we'll kind of see. Quinlan will be fantastic. What else am I missing? Between Quinlan, Han, and Sabine for sure. What are you thinking?
For me, I mean that kind of covers the majority. Oh, I think Kazuda now
Mm,
has
yeah.
space because
Less token
Django
downs.
doesn't exist. Well, it also just doesn't have Django that can just tap all their stuff down. So
Yeah.
they are one of those. They are one of those decks that just are going to be able to do a lot of damage very quickly, more so than others. I think it'll be good. at least like that second tier, if not the best tier. We'll have to see. But
one of these days we'll put an official tier list video together. One of them.
yeah.
But
So yeah, those are the main ones. I think beyond that, if there's any decks that kind of just sneak in, I think like a Piet variant is going to be good. Personally, I don't think Piet Blue is going to be it. I just think it is not. I think Piet Red is more likely to just hit its rhythm.
Piet Red seems probably like the one that has I don't know. One has power on turn 2. One has some actual units and ways to deal with some of these. Like both of them probably just get ran over by Sabine. But I think
that's possible, yeah.
I think between the two of them, it's probably Blue that would be better into Sabine. But then, I don't think either of them deal well with Han, assuming if the Han has any main board hand hate, depending on what version of Han, because I think Han Green and Han Yellow are both still very good decks. Yeah, it's pretty wide open, to be honest.
I just don't think. I mean, like, I understand the Colossus love, and maybe my little in my bubble, I'm like, I don't know how these Colossus decks wins because I don't know how you beat a single hand disruption deck.
Yeah, I think
have one less card.
I think probably the first thing that everyone has to, like, the barrier for entry into the current meta is going to be like, how prepared are you into playing against Quinlan as both a deck and a hate disruption deck, and how well and I don't think Quinlan's going to be as oppressive as some might think. I think it'll be a very good deck nonetheless, but those 25 HP bases now with more mid-range existing will go back to being what they were supposed to be originally. It was kind of like a liability, but it'll be interesting to see. I'm just hoping that Han doesn't become top dog again, just because obviously playing on out of curve or ahead of curve is obviously still one of the best things to do in the game. But if he does, then any deck playing red can still just run Cham to like try and help even the playing field, but we'll see.
Yeah. I'm personally not worried about Han being absurdly dominant in the meta. Do I think it'll be a good deck? Yes, but it's hard to pilot, and I think you've already taken away the most cheesy tool of the deck.
Mm-hmm.
So while you can build your advantage, you're not putting your opponent behind anymore.
And so it's like everyone had to be afraid that you were going to get DJ'd. You had to play around both the DJ plus like their casual natural game plan. And their natural game plan would also just win games without ever seeing DJ touch the board. So it's nice to know at least it's not such a dual threat into a previously like set 3 end of meta. It was like most 6 deploy plus leaders couldn't safely come out on any of the turns following just because Han was already so far ahead. But I think those, obviously Quinlan, Han, Sabine, and then after that, it's like what mid-range will come out and what control, which I think it'll probably be a mix between. I think Akira is probably still a very good deck. I think it just got better. Overwhelming Barrage decks are going to make a way back into the meta. That's something that we have to kind of be prepared for again. I think that card is, as always, just a class act on reminder that your units will die to one action plays. So going white is very important, but you have to make sure that you have the health pool out there and an answer to whatever overwhelming barrage unit they play.
Yep.
Nope. Almost messed that one up. Can you hear me? We good?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I can hear you.
Yeah, it's there's a lot to plan ahead for. It'll be I don't know what our first sample is of 100, 200 plus tournaments coming up, but it's going to be important to be paying attention because I think showdowns have started. Am I wrong?
There have been some showdowns, yeah, or just even I think cash events. Like there was a 1K in what was it Madison, Wisconsin, I think over the weekend.
Okay.
So we have results here and there. From what I can tell, it seems like Quinlan is consistent. It's solidly consistent. I think it's taken up like at least one spot in every top 8. You have Sabine doing the same thing. Those are kind of your top results decks so far that I've seen. You're usually getting it, one if not two of those minimum in the top cut, and then everything else kind of is filled out. But these are smaller events,
Yeah.
so
It sounds like either way though, like truthfully, we might be seeing more diversity in the meta than ever before. So, and truth, this might give like what you've done now for the last 2 sets. It's like you've practiced so hard to know all the lines, and this might be the time that it rewards you most. That you won't have to worry about. You can play your game plan into most of the field because you've practiced that way, or you've put that time in. Where like player skill previously was like, all right, Django into Django. It's like know the matchup, and then after that, your deck is strong enough to just kind of walk through most things casually. So we're back into like how the game is supposed to be played, at least how I see it.
yeah.
With that, we'll kind of run into our last topic of the episode, but there's been something that we were kind of cooking up for a little while, and I kind of wanted to, I guess, at least let. This is mostly for our locals because I know a lot of you guys always kind of tune in, and Steve and I greatly appreciated that. I know that some of you are here specifically for the doggo, but we kind of put out a special. This was formerly kind of like I don't know how to say this. This was our Denver testing team that kind of formed basically on most of the people who were going to go to Denver, or at least some of like the tournament locals. It was something that wasn't like official, and then we made it, and then we're like, all right, what are we going to do with this thing kind of post Denver after on the back of Daniel kind of bringing everything down and everyone having like a really good performance for the weekend. And we wanted to kind of like, my goal at least with all of this was to open it up to everybody in the area, and this is something that will become a useful tool to kind of like level up the playing field for everyone. Not saying anybody was bad, I'm just saying like we all we'll raise the sea level together. There's no reason that we can't help one another to to be better prepared for all these events, especially since we've got the regional qualifier coming up, and there'll be more like stuff to come along with it, and we'll be working on brandings for it, and I want to do like team jerseys and play mats and all the cool stuff. But yeah, we formed what we are calling the Omaha Alliance, and it's going to be basically open to anyone in the Omaha area for that, or for those who are interested in, I guess, leveling up their game for tournament prep and kind of representing each other and representing our state. I look at this like as a you can take a sport angle from it, although I'm not much of a sport guy. I think it's cool to have like a competitive identity. So as Steven, you were part of the like the testing team before all this. What are you excited about with all this?
I mean, one of the main things I'm excited about it is really just for a lot of us that are planning on going to these events, it'll just be nice to uh, have a designated kind of group or camaraderie going to these events, right? And it, when you go to these large events like the sectors or the regionals, you can rather than just focusing on only your experience of the event, being able to support everyone going and looking for the success of what you're representing, right? So if you're going with a group of people, being able to show up and show out is awesome, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned jerseys or some kind of merch, somebody can wear that at an event. That's always awesome because you can easily identify your group from
Yeah, your teammates.
yeah, exactly. So that's always super nice when you've got distinct colors from that front.
Yeah, and
But just going to the event and just being able to identify, the other people that go, it's like, oh, okay, this is the Omaha squad, right? So
yeah, I one of the things that I brought over from my background in X-Wing is that the Omaha guys were some of the best players in the country, and I was very lucky to have them as like to learn from them and to take those that opportunity into all the tournaments that I went to in the Midwest and some worlds and some of the bigger tournament, like just anything over, especially like at Adepticon. And we had a team dynamic, but like no official name. And then when we would go down to Kansas City or anywhere within the Midwest, I would see like not jerseys because that wasn't as cool back then, maybe 10 years ago now, but like there was people wearing matching T-shirts that you could easily be like, that's one of the KC guys, and I'd be like, all right, if I go 0-6 on the day, it's not as bad as I mean, if I went 1-6 but my only win was against a KC guy, I counted that day as a victory. So that's just how I looked at it back then. And you know what, if we get some state rivalry kind of stuff, because I think that's fun. And as far as I'm aware right now, we've kind of held all of the KCPQs hostage, so they're gonna have to hopefully Omaha can host one, or Lincoln, I guess, some Nebraska town, but they're gonna have to come fight for it, in my opinion. But that's how I see it.
yeah, that's the exciting thing, right? It
Yeah,
helps you build a not even
rivalry.
just like a rivalry, or just even if it's not necessarily a personal relationship, more like a community relationship,
Yeah,
right? So yeah,
it's like how the FFG employees at Denver, or in most of their games, they've done bounties. If you play against them, or if you run into them in a pod of like Twin Suns or something, it's like there's special rewards. But it's also like, you know, the reward to me is that everybody within those who want to be a part of it are all are getting better at the game, or are learning more, are taking the time to like work through their deck lists and be like, what can I do better about this? Because like I know you've gotten asked a couple questions about like comments about Ray. Right now I'm still trying to figure out what I'm playing, but like I'm jumping into our version of our deck threads to like sit down and see like, so what's the reasoning behind this decision. uh it's just good. It helps make sure that everyone's like not just playing things because it's correct, but like one understanding why. So,
right.
yeah, and we'll kind of probably talk on it more as time goes on. I hope to kind of work on getting the branding wrapped up. I don't know if we'll have stuff wrapped up before Minnesota, but fingers crossed. Or Minnesota. I can't remember.
I mean, yeah, you're correct.
Yeah,
Minneapolis in Minnesota.
fair enough. True. I wasn't wrong, but I wasn't right. But yeah, it would be nice. It'd definitely be a cool thing to do. I think like the Botha Network guys, seeing all their jerseys, and I know the KTOG jackets were pretty cool. I liked them. At least I like the idea that they had their squad. You could identify who was in it. So um yeah, it'll be something that we'll make a mark about for it. Put Nebraska on the galactic map. That was my motto. So, but
I mean,
as
everyone always asks, what's there to do in Nebraska? And well, I guess play card games, right? That's
we've got a few good PQ and sector qualifier winner here, so they can get some good practice. Um, and then there's the little weird Vader Red Tarkentown player. That's me. It's been a little while. I haven't played that, but yeah.
You
Uh,
cooked me with it last.
yeah, that was a long time ago. That was actually there was someone playing it on Sunday. Did you see Doug?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, I was like, yeah, it made me so happy. But that is, I think we all got, or all we got for the episode. Any last comments? Any concerns, Steven?
No, not that I can think of. Nothing else from me.
Okay. Well, as always, guys, thanks for the follows, the subscribes, liking, commenting. Every little thing helps. We're trying to get we're at, I think, 40 subscribers as recording this, and the closer we get, or I guess just the more we get, the better. But I think he's saying it's time to. But I want to try and push us up to 50 as fast as possible, and see where we can go from there. Anyway, have a nice one, y'all, and we'll see y'all in the next one.